Ladies and gents, we are back in the studio with the Lighthouse podcast alongside my co-host and good friend, Alex Camargo. We are here to deliver another great week of content for you. Before I even tell you what we're going to talk about today, do us that favor, like the channel, subscribe if you haven't yet, and share it with someone. Today's topic, we're going to talk about habits, some of the habits that were paramount to enhance some of the wins that we had in our lives. Stay tuned for this one. Mr. Camargo.
Here we are.
Yeah, good topic today. Something that I wanted to talk about for a little while now. This is actually crucial for someone to have wins.
This guy's using all big words today, Daniel. Look at this.
Yeah, you got to step up your game, you know. But anyway, habits. I want to talk about this because this is the habits. Habits are in my opinion, a bridge to the goals that you want to accomplish in life, right? You have to, and those aren't always easy. Right? When you talk about habits, we're going to put a habit, a lot of people talk about it takes 21 days to build a habit, right? Or 40. I've heard like 3 or 4 different numbers there. But what does that mean to you? I know you have some, and I've watched this in your life, those habits to become something very fruitful. Can you talk to us about a little bit about that?
I think that habits are the essence of progress, right? So if you don't really want to get anywhere, then developing new habits may not be in your agenda. But you also got to be careful because you may be developing some bad ones, which may not keep you on a stationary path, but it may bring you into a negative one, right? So,
right.
I
like the key word that you said, that progress. Yeah. Because before you go further with that, what's his name? The guy that we went to see, the big speaker that we went to see out in New Jersey. What's his name again? I forgot.
Who are you gonna have to cut this?
Yeah. No, you can leave it on. Don't cut it.
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. There you go. Yeah. Don't cut that. Just put it in black and white. All right.
Are you going to have to cut this?
Yeah. Don't cut it. Yeah. Tony Robbins. He said that when you're doing good in life and you're doing something positive and you're fulfilling your goal when there's progress. All right. I just wanted to interrupt for that.
That's a good memory. That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah. No, that stayed with me,
Yeah, well, everything that Tony says resonates with people and stays in for a long time. The guy's definitely a
machine.
Yeah, he is. So I think we first got to start out with how to build a habit, right? It doesn't just start out of thin air. It has to be intentional. And in my day-to-day, I'm constantly looking at, okay, there's nothing that I can do one time that's going to shape my future. It could even be an accident and it may transform it slightly, but nothing will shape it to the future that I want, right? So my goals are not to create a future. My goals are to create habits, and then habits will create that future for me. I don't have to, it's if you look at...
Yeah, and that you always talk about living in life by design and not by default, right?
Yeah.
It falls right into it, yeah.
And then, so how does a habit get created? It starts with a thought, right? You fiercely thinking about what you want to change, right? What you want for yourself, what new experiences you want. So if I want to lose weight, I'm going to start that with a thought. I want to lose weight. I don't want to lose weight so bad. I'm going to give myself all the reasons why I should lose weight. And I'm going to give myself reasons beyond just myself. Because oftentimes if you try to do things for your own enrichment, just for yourself, you don't achieve it. You have to do it for somebody else. You have to do it for your family. You have to do it for a greater cause.
A bigger why.
Yeah. Your why sometimes has to supersede just you. Because if it's just you and you don't have a good system, then you're going to fail more often than not. But if you're doing it for your family, if you're doing it for your friends, if you're doing it for whoever else, right? If you're doing it for just a bigger being than just you, then you have more chances to succeed. So if I wanted to lose weight, I would think about it real hard. I would involve some emotions with that, right? So I want to lose weight. And what would happen if I don't lose weight? Am I sacrificing my health? Am I putting myself in danger with my health, right? So I think about it real hard. And then I start speaking it out loud, because a thought needs to be spoken out loud so it can better resonate within you. So I think about it real hard.
Speaking it to existence.
Yeah. So then you start speaking it into existence. I'm gonna lose weight. You start making affirmations to yourself. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna make this happen. You tell other people about it. I know you shouldn't share your dreams and aspirations with a whole bunch of people, but you got to be selective with the people that you can share it with.
Yeah.
Right. So oftentimes between you and I, or people in our office or our circle of friends, I put something out there. Hey, I want to accomplish this, because I also need some accountability in return. Right.
It's funny that you said that, because for lack of a better expression, I guess, not funny, but Jordan Peterson talks about that. He says that be careful who you share good news with. Yeah. And your dreams and your goals, just because you want to have, the people who are in the same, with the same energy, that are going to be happy for you in times of happiness, but also you can cry on their shoulder when something happens. Yeah. So,
and then you may have let's say you have 6 friends, and 5 of them will encourage you in that dream, that aspiration, whatever you're trying to do, but one discourages you. Guess the one you're going to remember the most.
Yeah.
The one who discouraged you. So it's really important who you share it with. So we're here, we start with a thought, and then we turn that into a word, right? We speak it out loud to ourselves. We share it with a couple of people. I don't share much. And then when I do share is because I'm looking for accountability.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes I go to my wife and I'll share something with her. And I'm like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
And with your spouse, it really has to be shared, because you both share the same vision, right? So it's important to communicate to the other person where you're going. Right. Like, this is what I want to do. But when it comes to the habits thing, we start with a thought, and then we transform that into a word, and then the repetition of that will make that a habit, right?
Do you think that saying it to other people and imagining it, the thought that you were talking about and talking about it, is the process of manifestation? Yeah. Manifestation, yeah.
So it's the mind's eye. You first have to see it in your mind before it can actually take place outside of your mind, right? Many authors.
That's what Napoleon Hill talks about, and Bob Proctor, and all those guys. Yeah, 100%.
So now I'm at the point where I've spoken it. I'm going to put it into action, right? So I want to lose weight. I thought about it. I shared it with you. Hey, I want to lose a few pounds, and then I'm going to start doing what's necessary for me to lose a few pounds.
Take action.
Let me take action. Yeah. Right. So. And we have to be careful, right? We want to go out there and in the first 2 or 3 or 4 days and go all out, and then we can sustain that. So it's much better to start at a much slower pace and sustain that. Like you talked about 21 days to develop a habit, right? Right. Like if I wanted to, become a marathon runner from nothing, and then I want to run, 26.2 miles every single day, I'm not going to be able to reach 21 days. Right? Let me make that a much longer plan. Let me run 1 mile the first day and see how that works out. 2 miles, 3 miles. Yeah. Right? So thought, which will become a word, speak it out loud, which will then become an action, and now it becomes a habit. Right? I don't have to worry much about past this habit stage. I really have to worry about perfecting that habit, which we'll get into a couple of the habits that have shaped who we are, right? That have shaped who we are, right? So everything that I want to change in my life, this is the process that I look at. Okay, I want to, again, lose some weight, or I want to become stronger, or I want to run more. Easy. Let me chop this up in 4 different processes,
Yeah,
and then we can
yeah.
take it from there.
But have you ever noticed that creating habits that are going to help you positively in your life, there's always pain involved.
Yeah, there's
always it's never comfortable. You're always uncomfortable with those things, and
because it's growth, right? And growth requires discomfort.
Yeah.
It's impressive if you look up the story of a lobster. By the time you get served that lobster, especially if you get one of the 2 pound or 3 pound lobster, that lobster is 20, 30 years old. And every time that in the process of growth, it really has to break the shell that it's in. And then it has no shell, and then that shell thickens, and then it has to break out of it again in order to grow every single time. And it's just that process of 10, 15 years, 20 years doing that.
Yeah, and it's hard, but if there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a victim of that. My wife and I just had a baby, not just, it was about a year ago, but because she was waking up at night, I fell off of my habit of waking up early, right? Like 5:30. We had the 5 a.m. club, which I haven't visited in a long time. And I could see the difference in my days when I don't do that, because, I use the first time, the first part of the day, like around 5:30, to read, whatever book I'm reading, and to read the Bible, and to connect, do a little meditation. And for a long period of time there, I wasn't having that, and that affected the rest of my
everything else.
Yeah. So the power of that is amazing. Since we're talking about that, I know that's one of the habits that you've been working on for a long time, which is rise up early, right? Yeah. How did that affect your life positively?
Yeah, so I've come from working the nightlife industry. I did that for so long, so it was easy for me to go to sleep at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and then get up at 11 and then carry on with my day. But now I wanted to change, right? I did that for so many years. I'm like, all right, I've experienced that. I know what that does, the good and the bad. Let me try something different. So for the last few years, and especially being married, getting used to somebody else's schedule, and then having a baby, so having to be up early with that baby as well. I've always I've noticed that if I get up earlier than everybody else in my house, right, earlier than my wife, earlier than the baby, then I have a little bit of free time to myself, where one, I can exercise, right? So, and then after that, then I can have a 10, 15-minute break.
Right.
Where I can also design my day.
Right.
Because I don't want to get out, I don't want to just follow my schedule however I planned it the day before. I want to be able to look at that schedule and say, okay, this is how I'm going to approach each one of these meetings or showings or whatever it is that we do on a daily basis. So working out in the morning really improves everything else in my day, right? More energy. Yes, I'm tired from the workouts because I try to give it my all, but then after that, more energy throughout the rest of my day. And not only for today, working out today will give me more energy for the next 2 or 3 days.
Right.
But I also, if I see my workout in the morning, shout out to Bethel CrossFit. Liam.
Quick plug.
That's my monster that I have to slay every morning.
Right.
Every day, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I try to leave it all there, where that's my biggest problem of the day is, it's facing myself. Right, I'm putting it out there. I'm working out as hard as possible. Sometimes I think I could go further and I could do more, and sometimes I'm not doing it, so I have to self-correct and and put some more weights in there and all that. So I slay that monster in the morning, and then everything else may not be as big as that. So everything else becomes easier by default.
Yeah,
right.
And if I could just say something right there, if I don't wake up in the morning, hardly ever I get to make it to the gym in the afternoon, or especially with
in our
young
careers,
children or everything like that. So that has to be something that it's done in the morning.
Yeah. If I don't go in the morning, just like you're saying, there's a 80% likelihood I'm not going to go throughout the day. Maybe I'll go running, but I also need the actual workout with weights and all that. So I have to prioritize it, right? And that's very important. So I put it in the morning. I'm getting the exercise that I need. I'm getting the clear mind that I need. I'm getting the energy levels that I need, and that impacts everything else. That impacts my eating. Now I'm mindful of what I'm going to eat during lunch, right?
Yeah,
and throughout the day.
You put in that hard work.
Because you don't want to waste that.
Yeah.
What's a good habit that you developed for yourself?
Well, I have a couple, but and just to go back a little bit with wake upping early, I'm actually working on that habit again, and it's hard. It's hard because now your body is used to, your brain and your mind are two completely different, right? Like your mind is like, oh, this is good for you. Wake up at 5:30, wake up at 5. Wake up at 5, 4:59.
Sounds good, yeah.
Yeah. But your brain is like, oh, why would you even want to wake up right now? Like this feels so comfortable here and everything like that. Just stay 5 more minutes. That 5 more minutes become 10 more minutes all out of nowhere. You're in there for an extra 2 hours. But yeah, so going back to your question there, something that has helped me tremendously in a lot of areas of my life, self discipline and growth and learning new experiences in our businesses as well, is the power of networking. A habit of not being shy, and spark up a conversation if you're somewhere and talk to somebody and going to new places, meeting new people, so you have new outcomes, new ideas, new experiences. This is something that's like huge. A lot of people, they're like, sometimes with, bringing a little bit into what we do, a lot of people are like, oh, how do we get leads? How do we get leads? How can we talk to people and everything? And I almost want to come out in the street with these people. I'm like, you see that person right there? That's a lead. Yeah. And you see that guy driving right there? That's a lead. And you see that's a lead. Talk to people, like just, you never know. You're always one person away from a breakthrough in your life.
Yeah.
You're always one person away from a breakthrough in your life. And most of the time, like, people want to know who you are. Like, all your friends and people you've been hanging out with and people who you've been doing life with, that's all good. But they know your story and they know who you are and everything like that. I'm not saying like abandon those people or whatever the case may be, but I try to meet somebody new every time. I try to, you think about these things. For example, I go to all of my daughter's friends' schools from school's birthday because we're invited and everything. You're a better man than I am. Because you know what? There's an opportunity right there for me to, obviously I want to be with them and everything, but I always meet new people, such good people and everything like that. If I'm at the gym and I see somebody, I always try to spark up a conversation with somebody. You taught me that. One day we're talking about, you said you saw somebody wearing a Spartan shirt and you went, you spark up a conversation with that person at church. I'm participating on a new couples group now from church, and we talk about marriage in general, how to we're all different. There's only one Alex. There's only one. I mean, there's a lot of Alexes, but there's this one Alex here.
More Daniels than Alexes.
There's two Daniels.
There's
right
more Daniels
here
in this room than Alexes.
But we're all different. All different. But we're unique, but our circumstances tend to be the same.
Yeah.
A lot. You know what I mean? Like, so what we learn in these meetings from other people's perspectives and what their circumstances, what they're going through, sometimes it helps us tremendously.
Yeah.
Because we might be going through something and they're going through the same thing, but their approach kind of, we're like, oh, wow, like maybe we should try that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel, and it could be called networking as well, reaching out, networking, talking to more people. And I know this can be a little frightening to some people out there. But it's good. It's good too.
Well, when it comes to our industry, right? A real estate agent or an agent who starts this industry understands that this industry is about networking and relationships, and is not willing to do what it takes to create relationships and to network, is doomed to fail.
Yeah.
This is an industry of talking to people and seeing what their needs are and helping them get through whatever the challenge is for them to get a house or investment property or whatever it is. But if you're not willing to step out of your own comfort zone to go meet new people, how can you succeed? Because how often do people buy a house? It's not like they're buying from you 5, 6, 7 times a year. I mean, of course, investors can do that.
Right.
But a person, like in America, a person will move every 9 to 11 years. Right? So basically, you have to put yourself out there to meet more of the same, more people who are willing to be out there buying and selling a home. So that's a lot of the struggle that we have as agents and with agents who are starting out now, or even seasoned agents, is what are you doing to get yourself out there, to network more, to meet more people?
Yeah. And once you turn that into a habit, where now you're like start talking like it's second nature to you. Like you're just like, talking to people. I'm not saying that you have to have 100 best friends and be on top of these people every day, but be that person that they know. Oh, that's Daniel. He's a real estate agent, or if you need something in that area, he's the one that can help you, and stay in touch. I saw that personally in your life, how you went from not only a buyer's agent but 100% a listing agent, because you always stay in touch with your clients. Every year you're there, and you're making the
coquito season's coming around.
The coquitos, and you send in your cards every day. Like, I learned those habits as well, like, because staying in touch and staying, I remember when that hurricane hit here, you're calling everybody. Do you need help with that? Do you need help with something? We can come out and help and everything like that. And
I couldn't ask if you wanted a generator, because everybody needed a generator at that time.
Yeah. You have to sell your house to buy this many generators. But that's the power of that habit, to meet new people and to have a conversation with them and learn from them, and maybe you can help them out as well. But now I want to talk about one habit, and we're going to close with this, that is, I believe, crucial to anything in life, really, which is reaction. There's always a reaction to any action out there, and I believe that the person who speaks last, and the person who's gonna wait until the next move has, I don't want to say like power over the matter, but something
over
along
themselves.
Those lines. Over themselves. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about reaction.
Yeah, it's good that you bring up that topic, right? Because we could all take more advantage of learning more on how to react to situations. We can all benefit from that reaction from a better reaction to situations in life, right? So in what we do in our day-to-day, we're often a bridge between, or we're the glue between many people, right? The buyer, the seller, the other agent, the attorneys involved, the inspectors involved. And sometimes we're the bearer of bad news. Sometimes, even in our industry, we hear the bad news first, and we have to be able to communicate that with our client, right? The buyer, the seller, whoever they are. And oftentimes I feel myself getting aggravated with the situation, right? Jumping into the situation even more than I should, just because of my reaction to it. Knowing that my job is to stay completely calm, cool and collected, interpret this as it is, pass it on the best way that I can, right? So one of the habits that I've been working on lately is, and it starts way before anything happens, right? It starts in the morning, right? This morning, I get up, I go to the gym, I come back, and then even before I go back in the house, I sit in my car for 5 minutes, I say a quick prayer, and I meditate a little bit about how my day is going to go. And then one of the things that I repeat to myself is, I'm going to stay cool in whatever situation it is, right? I don't care if anything blows up out there. I'm going to be the guy who's in a good place to look at the situation, assess it, take what I need from it to make that situation better or to translate that to somebody else. And then hopefully we'll have a better outcome. Because in my earlier days, I was the one who would go there and stir up the pot. You know, you come out at me yelling.
You're a troublemaker.
I'm gonna yell louder or articulate it better. And as I'm growing older, I'm understanding that sometimes I don't need to give you my 2 cents. I want to, but my 2 cents are not necessary in the situation.
And do you know that has a lot to do with the way your brain works too? Remember Jim Quick always talks about this, learn how your brain works to work the brain, because there's a part, I forgot what it's called. I think it's amygdala, something like that goes in there, and it does not filter your reaction. It goes straight in for you to have like a bad reaction or something like that, instead of funnel through the other side. Yeah. So by having knowledge of that, you kind of like, okay, I see what's happening here. And that could be triggers that would trigger you, but then if you learn, like you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you understand better how you, like, I was talking to someone about this the other day, and he said like, I was a grown man but acting like a child, because I never like filtered the ways that I would speak to people. I always thought of myself. I didn't think about others. Yeah. And how, like, what you know, sometimes the best way is to take a hit. Yeah. Take a loss on that one, and that could be like the best case scenario. But the ego of some people will not let them do that sometimes, and that's a huge problem in society these days. Yeah. People are reacting in a way that they shouldn't, and therefore when they do that, now it brings guards up from the other person. Yeah. And it goes back to the old saying, like, when one doesn't want to, two won't fight. Yeah. One doesn't want to, two won't dance. And that always comes down to how you react to things, right?
And so the habit of being better at that is what we have to work on, right? And you won't learn if you're in the situation. You really have to practice before the situation. So first you start with a thought, and then you say it out loud. I'm going to be calm. Like, I'll say this all the time. I'm going to be cool, calm, and collected. Like, I don't have to participate in every argument. I don't have to give my 2 cents in every argument. And it's really something that I'm working on, right? Sometimes I'm like, all right, I can intellectually participate in this argument and probably win it. At what cost? For what reason? And now I'm actually sitting back and saying, and re-educating myself to say, you know what? No matter what happens, I'm going to stay cool. And if I don't have to give my 2 cents, I won't. Sometimes if my 2 cents would actually change the quick outcome of this argument or this situation, but then in the long run, I lose a friend. Yeah. Or I lose a prospect buyer or seller or a client.
Yeah. And sometimes your 2 cents should be to stay quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah. You know, and just don't say anything, because like Solomon used to talk about that all the time. You have an argument with a fool, you're the fool. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, no, reaction is big, man. That's a big topic right there.
And you mentioned just before we close, I'd like to mention one more habit that it's so recurring and people don't realize it, and they can actually change their whole lives, or it's changing my whole life, right? Substitute, I'm not going to say the whole thing, half of your music for an audiobook or a TED Talk or a video on YouTube.
A book.
But even as you're driving.
Oh, as you're driving, you said half of the music. Yeah, yeah.
Take away half of the music, because we don't pay attention to what are on the lyrics of the music that we're listening to. But in reality, we're creating habits out of those songs, out of that music. We're thinking about it. We're repeating it out loud. Sometimes we take action. You're at the club.
Manifestation there without you even noticing it. Yeah.
Subconsciously.
Yeah.
And then you're creating a habit right then from one song that you listen to 4, 5, 6 days in a row for 5, 6 weeks at a time. Right? We have to pay attention to the music that we listen to. Take away half of that music, implement, substitute it with an audiobook, or like I said, a TED Talk, anything else that can actually enrich in your life.
Yeah.
And so much will be changed within one person's life just from that one single.
Right.
And I know a lot of people will fight me on this. I'm not getting rid of my music. I'm not saying get rid of it. Like small increments, right? Because you're listening to the same songs all day long. You're repeating to yourself whatever's in those lyrics all day long. You're creating habits subconsciously. You don't even think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that if we were to stay here talking about habits of reading, habits of physical activity, habits of there's so many
eating habits.
There's so many of them that it definitely should take an episode 2 of this podcast. But if there's anything else that you'd like to add, no. So there you go, folks. A little bit off of real estate today, but some of the things that are helping us tremendously win in life and in our careers in all areas. So thank you so much for being here one more week with us, the Lighthouse Podcast. Share this episode with someone that you might think that they are going to take advantage of it, and we'll see you next week.